Special thanks to Tokyo Treat and Sakurako for sponsoring today's video. Of all the deceased captains who are now residing in Hell as of the end of the 1000-Year Blood War arc, I'm very curious to see more from Yachiru Unohana, known by her title of Death Sword now that she's moved on. It's no secret that Unohana felt a little underutilized in the 1000-Year Blood War arc, especially after the seismic reveal of her true nature. In one fell swoop, Kubo took Unohana, suddenly made her incredibly interesting and likeable, and then promptly killed her off without even giving her the chance to unleash her power on the Quincy. Oh sure, he made good on his promise to let her fight, but I don't think the end result was really what anyone had in mind. Now that doesn't mean it was bad, quite the opposite in my opinion, but I'd also be lying if I said I didn't want more. However, the surprise reveal that Unohana was unknowingly sent to Hell in the wake of the Great Soul King War opens up a lot of doors for the character's return, and for them to take on a new, exciting role if the Hell arc ever does happen. The same is true for Ukitake as well. Here we have two captains who missed out on a bigger role in the 1000-Year Blood War arc before being killed, and so who it always felt were given the short end of the stick, have just been seemingly given the green light, so to speak, for returning in the Hell arc. Today, we're going to take a look at what role Yachiru Unohana, the first Kenpachi and the first captain of the 11th Division, could possibly play in a future story arc. What could Kubo do regarding her relationships with both Yamamoto and Zaraki? Will she play the part of a hero or a villain? And what side of her is likely to flourish, Yachiru or Retsu? This is just going to be one of those speculative, rambling, theory-crafting videos that I sometimes like to do, a little more conversational in nature, and I do hope you enjoy. And of course, make sure to let me know your thoughts and theories down in the comments below. Of course, if you liked today's video and you want to see more just like it, consider supporting the channel over on Patreon, the link to which you'll find in the description below. It's a big, big help. It helps out the channel a lot. It is the place to go to take your support for the channel to the next level. I really do appreciate it. And a huge thank you and shout out goes out to everyone appearing on screen right now who is supporting over on Patreon, so do consider doing that today. Again, if you like the channel and you want to help keep things going, keep things running around here, again, it's greatly appreciated, and it really does mean a lot as well. And speaking of supporting the channel, before we get started, first, a word from today's sponsor. Alright, this month Tokyo Treat and Sakurako are bringing two totally distinct and exciting themes to the table for their snack subscription boxes. One that will see us diving back into the past, and another that invites us to enjoy the summer in Japan's natural countryside. So let's take a look. Tokyo Treat is an exclusive monthly snack box packed to the brim with a selection of fun and limited edition sweets, and rarely has a theme fit the vibe of Tokyo Treat as perfectly as this one, Tokyo Throwback. This month, visit Retro Tokyo and enjoy the kind of snacks that embody the cyberpunk-tinged nostalgia of buzzing neon lights and classic arcades. Snacks such as the limited edition banana Kit Kat, mixed juice gummies, a chocolate donut, and more. Banana Kit Kats seem like they would be a pretty natural fit to me, so let's have a look. Speaking of nostalgia, I'm instantly hit with a wave of that banana smell that's like a banana milkshake or something like that, or like a banana yogurt or something, you know what I'm talking about. As expected, the coming together of banana and chocolate, it's a pretty natural fit. And speaking of chocolate, well, I'm not one to pass it up, especially one that makes quite as strong a case as this. On here it reads, "Good taste is vitality for everybody, anytime, anywhere." I mean, you can't argue with that, right? As a certified chocolate lover, you can't go wrong with this. It does kind of have the consistency of a brownie, I would say, instead of a donut, but either way, it's really nice. Meanwhile, Sakurako is a monthly artisan Japanese snack box that features 20 traditional seasonal sweets, not the kind you typically find in Japanese convenience stores, as well as Japanese tea and an exclusive homeware item. Sakurako's Summer in Hokkaido theme presents a different side of Japanese celebration, whisking you away to a land of nature, fresh air, and stunning vistas. So kind of the opposite vibe to the Retro Tokyo. Snacks this month include Hokkaido Strawberry Cookie, Hokkaido Milk Soft Candy, and more. Based on the prominent cow, and the fact it says Hokkaido Soft up there, I'm going to assume this is the Hokkaido Milk Soft Candy. But we don't have to assume, because we have the booklet to help us. And speaking quickly about the booklet, every single box comes with one. It features snack descriptions, allergen information, and some cultural insights into the theming of the month's boxes as well. And speaking of cows and milk, this one talks about how Hokkaido is the birthplace of Japan's dairy farming. Okay, there's our soft milk candy, let's dive in and give it a try. You know what, I guess I shouldn't be surprised, but that does taste quite milky. It's very nice, and it does indeed offer a rich, creamy profile, but perhaps most interestingly about it, it's not vegetarian friendly. And then lastly, because I can't turn down chocolate, we're going to go for this chocolate cream bread. I think it's just bread full of chocolate tea cream, which sounds fantastic to me. It's very akin to the likes of a pain au chocolat. You can see the different layers in the pastry there. It's really nice. I tend to find, for me personally, that a pain au chocolat often doesn't have enough chocolate in it for me. So this is pretty good. This is hitting the right notes. Okay, but that's it for June's boxes. A big thank you to Tokyo Treat and Sakurako for supporting the channel as always. If you'd like to pick up these boxes as well and experience some of the tastes of Japan for yourself, then visit the link in either the description or the pinned comment down below and use my code TOMO for an exclusive offer of $5 off of your first order. Not only do you save money, but by doing so you directly support the channel as well. Thanks everyone, and as always, enjoy. Unohana's final scene in the Thousand Year Blood War arc is an interesting one, a defining one that has an air of finality to it, and yet one that you might think would also inform any future appearances from the character. In chapter 520, it's revealed that Unohana was in fact the first Kenpachi, and then in 523, it's also revealed that her kind, motherly persona is mostly fabricated. Now, that's not to say she doesn't genuinely care for the likes of Isane, the 4th Division, or the Gotei 13 as a whole, because I truly believe she does. But the actual truth is that under all of that, she's really Yachiru Unohana, the greatest criminal the Soul Society ever knew, and a murderous sword master turned Yamamoto's bloodthirsty right hand when he formed the original Gotei 13 over 1,000 years ago. However, as she duels Zaraki for the right to the Kenpachi title, and to help unlock his true power, something happens. Over the course of the fight, Unohana comes to terms with her original sin, her weakness that forced the child Zaraki to subconsciously lock down his own power for centuries. At the same time, we discover that prior to meeting Zaraki, Unohana had lost her luster for the blade. She had grown tired and bored, wandering and killing without meaning. Even though she wore the uniform of the Gotei 13 at this point, she would often mercilessly massacre Rukongai citizens in search of someone, anyone, capable of challenging her. When she eventually found him, it sparked meaning in her existence once again. Although she would one day lay down the sword, and the name Yachiru, in truth, everything was leading to this. And so, when Unohana eventually succeeds in restoring Zaraki's true power to him, and he then delivers the finishing blow, she no longer tries to survive. While I do still debate the decision to actually kill off Unohana to this day, one thing people missed about this moment all those years ago is that Unohana, the character, wanted to die. Although Kyoraku notes that going into this fight he knew that one of them would have to die, it's not a contest to see who lives and who dies. In actuality, Unohana has lived a long, painful life, and with the death of Yamamoto mere days earlier, the curtain is clearly being drawn on that original Gotei 13 for good. It's their end, their time has come, it's inexorable. And this was maybe her one chance to pass on the blood-soaked name of Kenpachi to a worthy successor rather than carry it to the grave with her. And that's exactly what happens. We see, from Unohana's perspective, that she at last relinquishes her bloodied sword, and that her hands are finally wiped clean. So in the end, Unohana passes on in total peace and acceptance, having not only rectified her one huge mistake, her original sin in her eyes, but she's also able to leave behind the title, the name of Kenpachi, and the blood, the killing that came with it. She wants to die, if not for herself, then for the sanctity of what it means to be Kenpachi, to be the strongest of a given era. Two cannot exist at the same time, or else the title is compromised, it is meaningless. So then, considering Unohana actively wanted to die, you have to imagine that suddenly waking up in hell was probably less than ideal. And I do wonder what the lore implications for this actually are. Because if a captain retains their sense of self in hell, it kind of seems like maybe they do, based on the appearance of Sorgyon or Kotowari, but that's literally all we have to go on, of course, remember. Does their soul kind of enter a form of stasis where they are still technically not lucid, but they are still there, they are still themselves, until they pass on to hell in this instance? What's the alternative, and what happens to their state of being? Anyway, that's for another time. More importantly, I wonder what this means for the character in general. What does it mean for the title of Kenpachi? From a reader's perspective, Unohana is a strange one, because I've always said that I wanted to see more from her, to the point where I would have been totally happy for Kubo to have exploited a loophole or something where the Yachiru side of Unohana had been killed in their battle, but the Retsu side lived on, though admittedly it's the Yachiru side that I find genuinely interesting. And yet despite that, it is hard to know where else to go with the character in truth. It is hard to see a path forward. Her arc, although fairly short, at least the actual consequential part of it, is now complete, and to bring her back to life is to disregard what she wanted, and what she fought for in the end. Because if she's technically not dead, wouldn't that mean Zaraki technically isn't Kenpachi? And I don't know, that seems a little unfair to Zaraki in my opinion, but then, on the flip side, if her being, in quotes, alive in hell doesn't automatically default on that entire situation, it doesn't automatically mean she takes back the title, then why did she have to die to begin with? Outside of her actively wanting to, I guess. But if Kenpachi didn't really kill her, then she is still Kenpachi, even though as far as she was concerned, she was dying, she was moving on, she did relinquish everything. Even if unintentional, it does prove at the very least that the two could have coexisted in some form without the universe imploding. I admit that things do get quite messy when hell is introduced into the equation, as barring any new information Kubo might reveal, and I imagine if the arc does go ahead there will be a lot of rewriting, perhaps, the rules around hell to make it fit into the established world of Bleach a little better, a little neater. But barring any new information, hell isn't technically a part of the cycle of rebirth, outside of some hollows going there upon purification. Hell is supposedly not a part of the three worlds that were born out of the primordial world, and so it doesn't play by the same rules. I guess what I'm getting at is, would Unohana really be considered alive at all? We don't know anything about how these damned captains actually live, actually exist now. All we have to go off is how Xyloporo is presented to us, and the fact that Ukitake must exist in some familiar form based on Sorgyo no Kotowari. But of course, as Xyloporo was a hollow, I mean, that's a completely different ballgame to begin with. Anyway, if Unohana is totally conscious of her previous self, as Xyloporo clearly is, then I wonder how she would feel about being denied the death she desired. Would she return to being lethargic and bored with the state of things? Would she seek out Zaraki to finally finish the job? Or is Hell able to influence the captains in some way, a way we haven't yet seen? Look, the main question is, what role will Unohana play? What is there for her to do? Will she be a hero or a villain? What does the name Death Sword now refer to? By which I mean, we know what Death Sword refers to in the past, but do these new epithets for the fallen captains have any new meaning here in Hell? Do they solely reflect the past, or do they also play into their present situation? For example, Yamamoto is now known as Court Guard Founder. Literally because he founded the Gotei 13, yes, but if the community's major theory is correct, and the original Gotei 13 are also residing in Hell alongside him, was he given that title in Hell by the denizens of Hell, specifically because he now commands the Gotei 13 once again, a different iteration? Is Ukitake known as the Kamikake Godsworn in Hell because his powers in Hell revolve around or utilize the power of Mimihagi, of the Soul King? And is Unohana known as Death Sword here in Hell because her true nature has once again been invoked? It's a fun idea, not one I'm putting too much stock in, but it does play into the bigger overall question about her role. Before we continue, over 50% of you guys are still not subscribed, though we have seen a pretty nice influx in subscribers recently, so I'm very, very appreciative and very grateful to each and every one of you who has hit that button. If you haven't done yet, if you're new here, or maybe you just haven't done yet for whatever reason, it is quick, it's easy, and it's free to do, and it will help us on our journey to 300,000 subs by the end of 2026. I'd love to reach that goal, and again, it's only going to be possible with your help, so do consider doing so today. It's greatly appreciated. We've gone over this before. It seems the prevailing theory for the Hell arc right now, for the concept behind how the arc might work, and certainly my going theory too, is that the original Gotei 13 will be the villains of the arc, likely attempting to escape Hell during the chaos that's been unleashed as a result of both Yhwach and Aizen now disappearing, as was mentioned in the Hell chapter, and their combined power no longer being capable of holding back the gates of Hell. With Unohana's death in chapter 527, the last living member of the original Gotei 13, as far as we know, passed away. And then later, both she and Yamamoto were sent to Hell, probably completing their ranks. Again, this is all speculation, just a fun theory, but I love the idea that the rest of them, the remaining 11 captains of the original Gotei 13, were waiting for their leader and his right hand to return to them before making their move. Of course, both Yamamoto and Unohana had changed a lot from their days as remorseless killers, even if the Thousand Year Blood War arc forced them to embrace the older versions of themselves, even if momentarily before their deaths, but perhaps Hell has had a powerful impact on them. Anyway, if Unohana plays the role of a villain, then we'll get to see her in all of her Yachiru glory, which I would be very excited by, to be honest. What better way to see the original Gotei 13 in action than to essentially have them retake up those roles from 1,000 years ago, only now empowered by Hell itself? With a newly corrupted Unohana by Yamamoto's side once again, she's been given permission to turn her blade against all who oppose them, including maybe even her former allies of the current-day Gotei. To be honest, this would be the route I would take for Unohana in the Hell arc. As I said earlier, her character arc, at least the one that was established in the Thousand Year Blood War arc, is over. The natural move now, in my opinion, is to see her former allies trying to help her die for good, move on for good, escape this captivity, while Hell compels her, forces her to fight, almost like a never-ending nightmare that she can't be free from. That being said, having Kenpachi fight and kill Unohana again feels a little trite, so I'm not sure what the end game looks like here. Maybe, and this could be very exciting even if it defies belief somewhat, maybe Isane somehow steps up and puts down her captain once and for all. Either way, considering how little we saw of Unohana's Yachiru persona before, the idea of seeing her fully unleashed as a major villain of the arc, it's very appealing to me. Or we go another route. Again, it's pure speculation right now, but Ukitake seems to have intervened to save Ichigo from Xyloporo at the end of the Hell chapter, or at the very least stopped the former Espada from doing any more damage, and dragged him back into Hell itself. So, what if the newly deceased captains aren't villains? Or they haven't been fully corrupted yet? What kind of role could Unohana play then? Again, attaching her purely to Kenpachi feels a little reductive to me, but at the same time she could act as a mentor to the character once again. Maybe this time helping him to harness and master his bankai, which as I've said before, at least aesthetically, would fit wonderfully in Hell. The truth is, though, that if Unohana has to help Kenpachi yet again, I think that itself is gonna feel a little silly. After all, Unohana helped him to unlock his true power. The power he inadvertently relinquished due to their original fight, and that's been done now. Why would Unohana be able to help Kenpachi with power he unlocked after the fact? Power that doesn't really have anything to do with her. It doesn't really make any sense for her to be involved in that, aside from their connection, and as I said before, that arc is essentially over. So, to be honest, just as if Unohana was a villain, if she were a hero, so to speak, I'd rather see her interacting with Isane. I think there's more to be gleaned from that. I'd rather see her helping Isane somehow. Isane is a relatively new captain still, and it would be cool to see Yachiru Unohana tapping into her healing prowess just as she did during her battle with Kenpachi to give Isane direction and assistance. It's impossible to know how or why, since we don't know anything about the arc or how the characters will work or interact. Again, this is just theory crafting on my part, but I'd love to get a little more from those two. Maybe this time Isane gets to say goodbye. However, if we want to go big with this, with the idea of Unohana fighting alongside the Gotei 13 in the Hell arc, then I think the ideal route to go down would be to have her turning her death sword on her fellow deceased captains. Now, if Kubo wanted to introduce characters like Kurayashiki into the manga, one of the former Kenpachi from the light novels, imagine Unohana teaming up with Zaraki to fight another previous Kenpachi, and one who, based on the manga, was never technically Kenpachi at all, but one who is immensely powerful all the same. Maybe the hellbound Kenpachi, the likes of Kiganjo, are disgusted that Unohana wants to renounce them and fight alongside the current Gotei 13, with the man who took her title from her. I also think a really interesting subplot to investigate would be the identity of the second Kenpachi specifically, because that's definitely a weird blind spot for the lore. For there to even be a so-called second Kenpachi, someone would have had to have known about the title fairly soon after Unohana created it and then somehow took it from themselves while Unohana was still alive. Maybe Unohana bestowed it upon them when she gave up the sword, but never truly believed them to hold it, and was in fact waiting for a true heir all along, and we know who. Zaraki. Because back in their original fight, Unohana proclaims to herself that this child is worthy of the title of Kenpachi, but she clearly does not confer it upon him at that point. Somebody comes along, and somehow ends up as the quote-unquote second Kenpachi. And so the second Kenpachi, who may also now be in Hell, felt slighted by that, by the reveal that Unohana never truly saw them as her successor, and now wants to destroy her, and the true heir Zaraki. Again, it's the makings of fanfiction on my part, but then this is a speculative rambling video. Either way, it's a great opportunity to give certain characters more to do, and to help them shine even brighter. Unohana and Ukitake are two fantastic candidates, and both of them seem primed to reappear. Hell, the Thousand Year Blood War arc anime even seemed to tease it a little bit, maybe? I'm sure you all remember what I'm referring to, but if you don't, it was during Ukitake's new flashback. Anyway, that's really it for my thoughts on what role a resurrected yet hellbound Yachiru Unohana might play in the Hell arc. There really isn't any room for Retsu Unohana to reappear, at least not in my opinion, as she was never a reflection of Unohana's true self, and I can't help but imagine that Hell will lay all of that bare. Honestly, Retsu Unohana died in chapter 520 when Kyoraku revealed her real identity, and I imagine she wrote as much to Isane in her letter. But the Hell arc offers up the perfect opportunity to see this character again, and I certainly hope that we do. Alright everyone, that's it for today's video. As always, I do hope you enjoyed it, hope you took some value away from it as well. Like I said at the start, it really was just a kind of speculative ramble, and I know that you guys do like those sometimes, and they are good for me as well, because it gives me the chance to theorize, it gives me the chance to basically create some fan fiction, as I said a minute ago, and that's always a lot of fun to do. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. I'd love to read all of your theories regarding Unohana, how she might appear in the Hell arc, Death Sword Yachiru Unohana. What kind of role could she play in that arc? Would she be a hero? Would she be a villain? Who is she most likely to interact with? I'd love to get all of your thoughts down in the comments below, so do please let me know. Alright everyone, once again, thank you so very much for watching. Consider hitting subscribe to help support the channel on its journey to 300,000 subscribers. Again, your support is greatly appreciated and it does help me out a lot. And speaking of helping me out a lot, check out the Patreon as well. The link you can find in the description down below. Over there, the $2 tier a month is the most popular one, and that gets your name in the credits of every single video, plus all of my videos totally free of YouTube ads. They are uploaded to Patreon as a separate file. Again, I do appreciate you all so very much over there. It really is making a big difference. Okay, guys, but until next time, I'll catch you later, and I'll see you then.